Everyone's talking about a potential food shortage. I think that's it's been trending all over social media and in news headlines around the world. It's a very dramatic term, gets people's attention for sure, but do you think it's an exaggeration, or do you think that's actually a realistic picture of what we're about to see? So what's next?
Yeah, it's already happening, David. I mean, put simply, the food shortages, lack of availability of certain items is already happening. And has been going on for several months and continues to do so. But just go to any grocery store around the country and you'll see that shelves are not 100% stocked in the way that they were, certainly before COVID. And of course, some of that is supply chain, or have, some of that is supply chain issues. But more broadly, and I think the point that you are getting to is there is severe disruption going on in agricultural commodity markets. The lack of fertilizer as well that's coming out of Ukraine and Russia will be impacting things further. Some of that is clearly reflected in the price of these agricultural commodities, because the market knows that if you can't get the fertilizer to farmers around the world in the same way that was available before, that has to ultimately impact yields, which is going to be reflected in the price. So no, absolutely, this is a big problem.
If we have a major shortage of fertilizers, farmers around the world would only have enough crops to sustain basically themselves. There's no surplus to be exported to other parts of the world outside of their local jurisdiction. That's a scary thought, because most of our country in the US and Canada, for example, a lot of our food is imported.
Yeah, that's right. And it gets even worse, for certain countries around the world, which are almost 100% reliant on imported food.
Would that have any impact on spillover effects on the global financial system at large?
I guess it depends, obviously on the specifics, and clearly, it would depend on how severe it is, but yes, potentially, or, all of the above. And certainly, like I said, we've seen this playbook before, certainly before the financial crisis, where we did have instability around the world due to very high agricultural commodity prices. And certainly ends up in social unrest and, governments probably at the minimum stepping in to try and subsidize food prices.
Do you recommend investors go long on agricultures right now?
Yes, because, look, how else do you hedge against these inflationary pressures that we're seeing in the economy? And one of the key inflationary pressures that we're seeing in the commodity space is coming from agricultural commodities. It's not just energy, although energy will clearly grab the headline. But, agricultural commodities have been rising dramatically as well. And so it's not just the price of energy that's going up, it's the price of food as well. And one of the only ways to hedge against that is to actually buy those commodities themselves.